Hi, friends! I made a bunch of gifts that I'm about to give away to my coworkers, but before I do, I wanted to share them with you all. Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming back and for taking the time to spend that time with me. Today, I wanted to talk about something that's very near and dear to my heart, and that is the idea of omiyage. Omiyage is the Japanese word for gifts, and this is something, one of the traditions that I grew up with and that I have continued to do. And a lot of Americans think I'm hella weird, but I find a lot of comfort in this. So again, omiyage. It's translated as gift. But there is this culture of omiyage, which is a little bit more. So, like when I was growing up, like whenever you go visit somebody, you give a small gift, and a lot of our friends and family do that. So we have a bunch of friends and family in Hawaii. So when someone is visiting someone, like as a little kid, I ended up with a lot of these little trinkets or gifts a lot. And sometimes a lot of the time, you're gifting food or something usable, but usually something small. And this might feel a lot, but I always really like it because you're showing somebody that you care, that you are thinking about them. And we do this in other cultures as well. So like ideas of like host gifts, graduation gifts. So it's like take that and just do a little bit extra. And as an adult, I really like kind of participating in these ideas of omiyage because it means like I'm thinking really hard about like, okay, who means something to me and how can I show that and demonstrate that to this person? So this past year, I recently transitioned into a slightly new age group in my employment as a teacher, and I had a one-year position at a school. And being a 1 year at a school is just a slightly weird position because everybody else has a permanent job, and I'm just this temporary person. But despite all of that, there were a few colleagues who were really there for me and helped me understand how the school worked, who I needed to go ask when I had a specific question, or being that person who could help me answer a specific question. So I wanted to show that to the people who were really meaningful to me over this past year. So the past couple of weeks, I have been feverishly stitching and finishing. Like, honestly, some of these gifts I've been thinking about for months, even if I haven't actually started the stitching process. So, of course, let's start with the rabbits. So for those of you who follow me on Instagram, you will have seen that I have stitched so many of these mini Shimanchu rabbits. This pattern was made by my dear friend Aya Rosen, based off of a larger pattern Shimanchu rabbit that I designed. If you haven't checked that out, highly recommend. There's an entire video about it and what it means to me. But I was just so excited to like have a friend who is inspired by my pattern, and also like this is much more doable if you need to do it a lot. I've also found that I'm just like really into prototyping. I like taking one thing and trying it in many different combinations. So got to try different fabric counts, combinations of fabric and thread. So I'm like, for me, I'm also just like trying out different thread combinations. But this one is 2/2 on 20 count linen, and you can see it's sparkly. This one, like I've actually had this frame for a while by 3 inches hand embroidery, and this is their purple heart stain. Purple's my favorite color. Like if there's something purple, I will probably buy it. That's a failing of mine. But I had actually been finding it a little bit difficult to find something to go in this frame because normally I stitch purples that are a little bit brighter. So I was actually finding other purples were clashing. So actually like carefully went through the DMC list of colors and tried to select the purple that would go well with this frame. And this is very dark grape. I want to say it's like 154, but like I actually specifically stitched this one to go in this frame because it had just been sitting in my stash and I wanted to use it. And I had previously noticed that this pattern would fit well at this size. So I was like, you know what, why not? Let's figure out how to make this work. So here's one of the other rabbits. And then like I have just stitched a slew of tiny ones and made a bunch of these keychains. I've made more, though I've actually already given some of them away. So these are the only two like keychain ones I have. This one is 32 count black linen, and of course this pale yellow. This is maybe 445. I don't know. I recorded it on my Instagram. That's part of the reason why I like record all of the details on my Instagram. It's kind of using that as my electronic journal because I'm impressed by people who keep like an actual stitching journal and record everything. That just feels like too much to me for my hobby. Just no interest in doing it that much. So thank you, Instagram, for being my video or my photo journal. This one was kind of fun. This is tea-dyed linen because I love tea. I love stitching on tea-dyed fabric. Eventually, I will start dyeing my own. It's just like a little bit at a time. And this one, I'm really happy with this color. Again, don't remember the exact number, but kind of this like subtle teal and just the Shimanchu, mini Shimanchu rubber is such a beautiful pattern. Thank you so much, Aya. And I noticed that the 28 count and 32 count ones fit in these keychain blanks pretty well. So this is a slightly larger opening than these pendant blanks I've been using from Art Base. So I have two different ones here. This one is 32 count, this one is 36 count. So this one still fits, so you can tell that there's a little bit more space here. I do think the 32 count is like kind of the perfect one for these 33 millimeter openings. So these are going to slightly special people because, you know, they're slightly more expensive, slightly fancier. So this is for a colleague who is also a birder. I actually bought this pendant blank a while back and because, you know, it's pretty. And then I bought it. I'm like, I'm not a bird person. What am I going to do with this? So it's just, again, been sitting there. And then I was so excited when I remembered that one of my colleagues who's just been the kindest to me, like I had a bit of a situation where I just like needed someone who had a little bit more experience, like, hey, can you let me talk this out? I need help, like just processing my feelings around this a little bit. And she sat with me and she was really kind about it. And she's just been universally lovely. So again, this is a sparkly 36 count linen. I want to say this is tan from Extru Design. And again, that same teal from this one. This colleague is also one of my tea friends. So we talk about tea and I've given her some tea recommendations as well. And this one is actually for my roommate. So I'm super excited about my new job. Also means I need to move, less excited about that. So that means I have to leave my perfect roommate who I adore. So this one is for my roommate. Whenever I showed people like the stitched versions before I had put them here, this was always everyone's favorite combination. This is DMC 327 Violet. So like this beautiful purple that's just a little bit muted. I used to really like DMC 550 and like it's not that I don't like it, it's just sometimes that one's like a little too in your face and this one is just slightly more subtle and I think this is my favorite DMC color right now. And then again, more opalescent linen. This is a Lavender Field from Extru Design. I think Extru Design is like by far my favorite fabric dyer. She just has such wonderful colors. I also tend to prefer less modeling. I like more solid-ish colors, and that's what you find with her. But again, just like such lovely color options. And her Lavender Field fabric is truly one of my favorites. So yeah, I bought a little bit and I mean, I'm afraid to go look at her Etsy store again because if I look, that means I will purchase. And I need to move first before I buy new things. So we're trying to avoid just looking right now. So those are all of my rabbit. Oh, I do actually, there's one more rabbit. You can see this one isn't framed yet. So this one I'm not giving away, but I do have one more. You'll notice I didn't do such a great job. The reason why there's not much margin here is I accidentally stitched this one too close to the other rabbit. So this is where the margins got cut. Hopefully when I frame this one up, it will still work out because the margins were also kind of small on the other one. But I just don't have the right color frame for this one yet. So unfortunately, this one is probably just going to remain in my stash for a little bit until I have enough to justify a large order, 2 or 3 inches hand embroidery. All of their frames are just so great. I love them. Like, look how clean the backs are. So they come in 2 pieces. You just peel off the adhesive, you stick. I leave them overnight with clamps just to make sure that the adhesive really holds. But like by far the easiest and cleanest finish I have ever come across. So those are kind of like the first set of gifts I'm giving away to my colleagues. You can see like I batched these. So there's a bunch, like all of them are a little bit different, but they are like a little bit similar. So next, I have some presents for my colleagues who were a little extra special, like we had a bit more of an ongoing relationship. So on the team I was on, there were two colleagues who helped me a little bit more than the rest. And one, I actually like started showing her some of my cross stitch pictures throughout the year. And one of the ones I showed with her were about the sea bunny nudibranchs I made. So I'm giving her one of the sea bunny nudibranchs. I'm giving her this little pendant. So this is for, in honor of the year of the water rabbit. So we have with the Chinese zodiac, we rotate through the 12 different zodiac animals, but we also rotate through the five different elements. And this year happens to be the year of the water rabbit. So that's why we have our sea bunny nudibranch because it's a water rabbit, and then 2023 in the background so she can remember me. And also, again, it's on opalescent lavender field 32 count linen from XU Design. I showed this one last time, my Chibario. So this is for the colleague who has helped me the most, and she's always treated me as a peer, which was really nice because, I am just legitimately new to this school, was trying to learn how they do things. And I had, of course, a lot of questions. And sometimes if you ask too many questions, people think you're, don't know what's going on. But it was not the case with this colleague. She also spent some time in Okinawa a while back, so that's why she gets an Okinawan themed one. So this says Chibariyo, which is Okinawan or Uchi no Guchi for good luck or do your best, that type of thing. If you watch anime, it's the Okinawan version of Ganbare or Ganbate, which you hear a lot in anime. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this one in my last Flosstube. If you want to learn more about all the different motifs, you can do that. But yeah, I'm super happy with the design, and look at how sparkly it is. This is 2/2 on 40 count linen. This is just the same as like this rabbit. I forget what color it is. It's some blue. It's gorgeous. I love it. But yeah, just found this from some retailer as is. Made by either Witchelt or Zweigart, one of the big ones. Oh, and there's a bunny on the back because that's what I do now. This is my life. And then probably my absolute favorite colleague this past year has been the Latin teacher. He can be a little spicy, but he also let me talk some things out, like away from my department, which was sometimes kind of nice. And so I was shadowing his advisory, so I got to see how he interacted with those students in that context. And there was one situation that I ended up kind of taking on because I was just a little bit closer to the subject matter, so it helped me. The student was female, and we were able to connect in a way that he maybe wasn't able to with this particular student. And in the last term of the year, we have started doing tea time every week. So I took a pattern from Lago d'Argento shop, which they have just the cutest, tiny little motif patterns. So I bought their tea one and I arranged it and patterned it based on the Latin teacher's teaware. So he has, this dark brown teapot and then these beautiful teacups with, this blue edging and then they're the white base and then blue edging and blue flowers. So tried to capture that as well as I could with it, not that much space. And then it sat just with the tea and this little tablecloth thing at the bottom for a while. And I kept on thinking ooh, I really want to add something in Latin around it, especially because I knew with this frame I was going to have a bunch of extra space, but I was nervous. I kept on putting it off and I kept on putting it off. And finally, last week, I did a little bit of light internet research and was like, okay, what type of thank you do I want to use in Latin? Because remember, in English, we can say thanks, thank you. But we can also talk about gratitude and say I am grateful. So I decided I wanted to go more on the gratitude. So I'm I I found something online that was says I am grateful. And then I chickened out. And last week I went to the Latin teacher and showed him just the stitched version. I was like, hey, is the grammar appropriate? And he's like, yes, it is. So he knows this is coming, but I think that's better than handing him something with inappropriate grammar because he would notice. We are both detail oriented like that. And I know the contrast is maybe not the best on this one, but it was suspiciously, specifically to match his tea wear, and I wanted to do it on tea-dyed fabric because I thought that would be cute. So yes, it could have better contrast, but you know what? Sometimes that's life, and I think he'll like it anyway. And because he has been so helpful over the years, I'm giving him some of my favorite tea, and it's going to be wrapped in a furoshiki because that's what I do. One another thing is you tend to find like really beautifully wrapped gifts in Japanese culture, and that's because we tend to consider the wrapping as part of the gift. So that's why I, took the time to go make a furoshiki or make buy a furoshiki, and later I will be attempting to wrap it all nicely. One thing I do need to do is I need to go like actually learn how to do proper wrapping. Like I make it work, but I could definitely improve on this. So yes, these are the gifts I'm planning to give tomorrow. The rest of my evening will be feverishly writing thank you notes to go with all of these. I'm really excited, but it's also fun to get to share this all with you. Obviously, I'm not giving a gift to every coworker, but I do I do like taking the time to let people know who have been really meaningful to me that they mean something to me. And every time I give something to somebody in this way, like they're really touched, and it's always a surprise. So I welcome you to consider this as something to do. Like, um, I don't know, small gifts are meaningful and a great way to let people know that you're thinking of them. Um, I'm kind of tickled because lately I've run across a couple people who were complaining about the gifting table at cross stitch retreats. I've never been to a retreat, so I would love if down in the comments you could explain like what's going on at the gifting table at cross stitch retreats and why is it stressing people out. Um, Though here, like I am specifically giving gifts to people I know personally, and we've had this meaningful relationship. I don't tend to just, make a bunch of things for randos. I mean, honestly, I would love to give one of these to like every single person. That would be super cool, but that is impractical. And like, I've loved stitching this pattern, but I am also very excited to now stitch things that are for me. So yeah, and I do think I need to do that a little bit more, take a little bit more time to stitch for me because I've been stitching so many things that I have been giving away lately that I don't know. My I mean my walls are already fairly full, but it's also nice to have markers for myself. And in really exciting news, I actually got some gifts. So, as part of, again, this process, I might have a lovely new job in a new state that requires me to move again. Thankfully, it's not too far. So, I'm only moving about 4 hours away this time. So, I have been doing emergency trips and to go like do some apartment hunting. Almost there. Hopefully next time I will have more solid news. But I actually got to spend time with my friend Aya. And Aya gave me this wonderful little book. Which is a perfect place for me to like put some of my cross stitch smalls because of its size. So I'm really excited to like maybe stitch some smalls and put them in here. And the thing I'm the most excited about, oh my goodness, I like could barely contain myself. Aya stitched me the tiniest I Heart New York. Oh my God. And it's a pin. And just look at this gorgeous little frame. And like, it all fits in there. Like, how? This is amazing. So I was so touched by this. And yes, if you haven't figured it out, yeah, I'm moving back to New York City, y'all. This is actually the city where I have spent the majority of my adult life. I went to grad school in New York City, and then moved away for a variety of other reasons. And honestly, I had thought the New York chapter of my life was done, but it turns out I landed a dream job there. So yeah, I'm a little like, what? This is where life has taken me? But I'm really excited to move back to the city. And I feel like I know how to be a New Yorker more than any other place. For right now, I've been living in Boston for the past year. I had to buy my very first car so I could commute to my current job. And like, it's working out, but oof, so excited to sell my car. Oh, funny story. So, because I grew up in Oregon, um, Oregon has this law where you are not allowed to pump your own gas. So I never had to pump gas growing up. And then I went to college, didn't have a car. And then I went to New York for grad school. So I just still didn't have to have a car. So I didn't need to learn how to pump gas until this past year. I mean, I would like it had kind of turned into a game because I had noticed this and I was like, how long can I go until I need to learn how to pump gas? And because I am that ridiculous, like I was actually nervous about it, which is very silly. This is not a hard task. And people have been laughing at me about this for years, but I ended up YouTubing how to pump gas before I moved here. But I have since successfully pumped gas many times, and now I don't need to, and unless I get a rental car sometime, which will probably be rare. But yes, I am super excited to share the idea of Omiyage with you, but also the actual gifts that I'm going to give away in the next couple of days. And so thank you for being here, letting me share a little bit of my culture with you. Please do like, comment, and subscribe. It really does make a difference. I have a really small audience here, so sometimes it does make me question, like, oh, is it even worth filming this and putting this online? I was looking at my analytics the other day. I really consistently get some downvotes. So if you want to say something nice, that'd be great. Anyway, hope you have a wonderful June. Don't forget, also Stitch for Pride. Do all of those other things that you want to be aware of all year long. And I will see you soon.